Welcome to the One Take, Conversations with Global Mobility Leaders. Today, I'm joined by Jesper Løvendahl, CEO and founder of ExpatRide. Welcome, Jesper.
Hi, Lynn. Thank you. And thank you for having me today.
Good. So I'm very excited to have you with me because I think you're one of the newer players in the mobility space, having started ExpatRide just 11 years ago. Why did you start this company?
Yeah, so I moved to New York in 2005 as a lump sum expat for a small software company and trying to lease a car back then, not having a credit history and being rejected by dealership after dealership after dealership out in Long Island really was a humbling experience. Now, I did end up lease a car, but it took a long, long time. So years later, when I was ready to start my own company, and I looked back at my life and thought about what problem did I have that I could solve for others, I thought of that experience of trying to lease a car without a credit history. And finding a solution for that became the beginning of my company, ExpatRide. And since then, we've solved many more car challenges around the world.
So tell me a little bit more. I know you provide a range of transportation options. Kind of what are all of the different options you provide, and where in the world do you have locations and services?
Yeah, so we provide our services across the globe, so in 175 different countries. And what we help with is basically anything on four wheels. So that'd be airport transfer, it'd be rental cars, daily chauffeur service, car leasing, financing, bus and coach service, armored vehicle when needed in those countries. So basically anything on four wheels and in most countries around the world. And we do that from our locations in the US, in Florida, here in Copenhagen, where I'm sitting right now, and our newly opened office out in Manila.
Great. So what, as you look at what options expat assignees are choosing in different places around the world, I mean, what variations do you see either by country or city? I mean, you mentioned armored vehicles, but are there differences in terms of what people are seeking depending on where they're assigned?
Yeah. So if you look at the chauffeur service, for example, is very common in Central and South America, in some African countries, India and China is usually where you get a chauffeur, and that could be for different options. It could be in China because it's difficult to obtain a Chinese driver's license, in India because of liability issues, and then also in other countries where it's just customary to have a driver because it's inexpensive. Um, Rental cars is something that we see in all countries, basically, because everybody will need a car when they arrive if they don't get a chauffeur, of course. So you need that car to drive, maybe not the first day, but the second day that you arrive. Airport transfers to and from the airport when you're leaving your host country or your home country and then going to your destination. Um, our biggest program is rental cars because it's such a need. 99% of expats will need a car when they move to a new location. So those are our biggest services. And then once in a while, we also deliver armored vehicles. And that could be from a safety perspective or it could be insurance perspective in different locations around the world. But Mexico and Brazil is probably the largest volume where we deliver those services.
Mm. So, are your services aimed primarily at short-term assignees or permanent transfers, or is it also encompass the business visitor?
Yeah, so it's anything from in and out of an airport. So pick up a rental car in the morning to delivering back in the evening to having the same driver for 4.5 years, which was actually the case with our first chauffeur service ever delivered, which was in Shanghai, China, where the driver and the assignee stayed together for 4.5 years. So, and it could be rental cars for multiple months. It could be a bus service every day for an engineering team that goes from a corporate housing to a work site, then with a few stops on the way back for grocery shopping and other things before they go back to the corporate housing. And that could be going on for 6 to 9 months. So it's basically any need on four wheels that you could have an employee have. But of course, it's mostly individuals coming through the relocation management companies. So your assignees from 3 months to and up that we service at ExpatRide.
Mm. This is interesting because we often talk about that employee experience, and we talk about the need to make sure that they feel comfortable and are settled into their homes and that they have schools for their kids. But frankly, we don't often hear a lot about transportation. Why do you think that's the case?
I think it's because nobody has been able to deliver the service that we do. If a big relocation management company would have to service all of the different variables for their clients on a global scale, they would have to have the 120 suppliers that we work with build up the knowledge that we work build up over the last 10, 11 years, and nobody's done that. So it's just been pushed back to the HR department or business travel or whoever, or even in most cases for the location that they move to support that assignee, or even just for the assignee to fend for themselves, to go out and figure out, how do I get a car without having a local credit history? How do I get from the airport to the hotel and get around during the first couple of weeks, a month in that new location? So nobody's been able to coordinate that on the global scale. And what we also do, in addition to coordinating, is that we also arrange all the billing. So we bill all of these services on behalf of the client or the RMC, and then centralize that all back in according to whatever currency they want it in. We have local bank accounts in multiple countries around the world, and so we can basically fit any billing need as well on top of coordinating the services.
So let's talk a little bit about environmental sustainability. Reducing the carbon footprint of the move went from the time that an assignment is identified through the transfer to a new country and then all the way back home again is a big priority for our industry. And Worldwide ARC has been working with our members to try to find ways that we can work together to reduce our footprint. What are you doing at ExpatRide in the terms of eco-friendly transportation?
Yeah, so eco-friendly transportation, the environment, pollution is something that is very close to heart, because we had a team day about a year and a half ago where we talked about that we were coordinating pollution around the world, and we felt really bad about it because cars and cows are the most polluting things that are on this planet, and we were coordinating that throughout an assignment. And when you look at the assignments as well, let's say a 1 or 2 year assignment, the thing that pollutes the most is a bad choice of vehicle. So being able to coordinate that towards a more eco-friendly vehicle, be that a hybrid vehicle. If you replace a hybrid vehicle, or not replace it, but you take a gasoline or diesel car and replace it by a hybrid on a monthly basis, you save 11 trees per month. If you do that for 50 assignees, you're saving 6,500 trees per year. Now that's substantial, and I don't think there's much in that the industry can do to save that many trees when you look at the complete assignment length. So what we did at ExpatRide was that we did a 3-step process. So we first looked at all our suppliers, looking at, okay, who can provide these vehicles in the different locations that we're in. And to our surprise, some of them were not really interested in eco-friendly vehicles. So we sourced new partners in those locations. Then the second step we did was we said we need to do better at ExpatRide. So we did a MAP strategy, which is motivating, assisting, and pushing greener options onto the assignees. So this means that if they're a hybrid vehicle coming in at the same price as a regular gasoline or diesel, we would give them the hybrid vehicle because it saves 30%, or it's 30% less polluting than a regular vehicle. So that was our push strategy. And then our Eco Ride Choice program, which we worked together with client on, mandating their assignees to choose eco-friendly cars when available and within a budget that we agreed to in all of the locations that the client's assignee is in. So we're really being able now to look out in the future where we could look at potentially saving hundreds of thousands of trees every year with little effort.
So are you finding that many of your corporate clients are now mandating their employees to choose the green option?
Now, some of them are. I mean, it's also about availability coming out of the COVID crisis, the shortage of vehicle. So the hybrid and electric vehicles are the most sought after vehicles in many of the locations. So there are 6 to 12 to 18 months wait time on some of them, which doesn't fit with a 12 to 24 months assignment. But as we get closer to 2024, 2025, it will be more readily available. However, going back and looking at the fact that very few clients gets their cars coordinated by us through their RMC, that would be the first step to get us to coordinate their vehicles and then do the add-on with the EcoRide program. Because it is the low-hanging fruit of the industry, I feel. I mean, you could either look at an assignment and force your assignees to go vegan. That would help a lot. But I think that's more difficult than giving them a hybrid vehicle.
Good. Well, having bought 2 cars in the past year, I'm certainly jealous of people that get this assistance. It's a lot of work to find it. So glad to hear that this service is available to help employees who are dealing with so many other things when they settle into a new country. So this is a great thing to take off their plate. Is there any last comments you'd like to share with us?
I think the most important thing is that this is not difficult to get started with. It's a lot of variables, and I've spent a lot of words and said, around the world and all the different services, but it's fairly easy to get started with us. All you need to do is either contact your relocation management company or us directly, expatride.com. You can find contact details on. Send us a list of all of your locations globally. And what we'll do with that list is we'll put together an overview of all the different services that we can provide in all of those locations, an estimated cost, and we'll send that to you in a neat document. And that's a great way to get started, for you to just pick the locations that your volume locations to start coordinating this. And then I would suggest to work with your relocation management company on this, because we can also make sure that all the billing expenses and all that coordination is coordinated through them, so that you'll have a better overview of the cost for each of your assignees on a global scale.
Terrific. Well, Jesper, thanks so much for joining me today. You've opened my eyes to a whole nother area of global mobility, and I want to thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.